one not use propane for heating?
Propane for heating, okay. I have grown to hate that idea in practice for several reasons. I grew up in Aurora, Colorado, and we go to the mountains a lot for camping. We've gone to Canada and everything, but every single year in the Rockies, every year I had to read about a father and son went up hunting or camping, or a family went up camping or hunting, and they died because they had propane heat in their tent or their trailer, camper trailer. And what they did was they burned up all their oxygen. So if you burn up your oxygen, you're breathing carbon dioxide. Not a good thing. That's one case. The other one is that I knew a family right here. I could 2 miles from here. They had borrowed somebody's fifth wheel. They were living in their own fifth wheel, camper of some sort. They had a covering between them. They're heating with propane. The rubber hose, or whatever, either it sprung a leak or the O-ring went out or something. They didn't have it connected right. Don't know. Rubber hose, and I'm seeing this over and over again. The people are, and especially like one of my biggest concerns with the Ashland area and Western North Carolina and Tennessee. People are heating with propane. Okay, and one of the problems is, okay, I said this already. It burns up your oxygen. You're left with nothing to breathe but carbon dioxide. And the other thing is, if that hose leaks, it melts or whatever. Suddenly you have a outblasting of propane under very high pressure. You're going to have an explosion or a fire, or both. And that happened to a family of Russian immigrants over here. I'd actually gone and met them at their camper setup before it happened with a real estate agent, because I was showing her around and introducing her to the area. And we went over there to talk to them. I said, "Can we go talk to that people?" And I did. We were able to go talk to them. I had a good conversation with them. I gave them a bag of wheat, because they didn't have a lot of food. And I gotta stop this. I don't know if that helps. I gotta figure something else out. Okay, so fire and explosion both. Nobody was killed, but they blew up both trailers were down. One exploded, and the other one got burned down by the heat. And so they were living in they were homeless in a cabin somewhere. So that's the second story. Another one is that a friend of mine just talked to recently. In fact, the man that I'm working with here was military, and he said they were in a really cold situation in a Humvee, and all he had to heat with was their heater, and the thing went out. He'd replaced it, and went out again. So there's something bad with the engine system on the Humvee. They had no heat. Couldn't run the diesel heater, or couldn't run the diesel engine to put on any heat. He was using a propane stove to heat with, to keep it warm with, and they all crawled in that back area, and they're all sacked out, and they all wake up with a raging headache, and their lungs were all in bad shape. They were breathing propane and carbon dioxide. They started off breathing carbon dioxide, and then suddenly they're breathing propane to some degree, because next thing I'm going to get to is that what happened was there was a 2-burner propane stove, right? Well, probably the oxygen got so low that the one burner burned out and stopped running, or there was the tank could get cold and it impede the flow of the gas. So one burner had burned out and it was spewing out. The other burner is lit, and the other is spewing out pure propane. Now, the thing that saved their life probably was that propane is very heavy. It's heavier than air, so it goes down. Natural gas goes up. I'm going to get back. We'll circle back to that issue, but the propane was going down to the floorboard of the Humvee, all right? So it didn't explode. It didn't light up and create a fireball and blow the thing up, because it goes down to the floor, and then it works its way up. And at whatever point, it could be 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot. The first spark, it doesn't have to be a big spark. If you look at piezoelectric, you turn the thing, it'll go click, click, click. Your lighter go click, click, click. That's piezoelectric. That's a crystal. When you put pressure on it, piezo means pressure. And when you turn your stove all the way over, it goes click. One spark, one sound, tiny. You look at I ask everybody to do this. Look at your butane or propane stove and turn it over until you hear that click, and look at the spark, how small it is. That's all it takes to blow up the propane, to light propane gas off. The open flame wouldn't do it because it was going down. And so, but what happens with propane is that it's heavier than air, so it goes down to the floor and starts working its way up. And the more propane you get, in some places it hits a light socket or some static electricity. Just walk across the floor in Colorado, boom, boom, gone. So anytime you smell gas, anytime you smell a smell, get out, have it checked, or check it yourself, but check it carefully and get everybody out of the house before you do that. Because you flip the light switch, boom, if the propane gets up there. Natural gas is different; it's lighter. So I need to slow down, right? If I'm saying,
I think you're fine.
If I'm looking okay or doing something stupid, then let me know.
Oh, you're
if
good.
I look stupid, let me know. Okay. How are you at editing?
I'm all right. I'm good.
Okay.
So, is there a better solution to this problem that propane creates?
Can I finish on the bad things?
Or
about
sure,
propane?
go ahead.
We're not even started on bad things about propane.
All right, keep going.
Okay, let me explain what I was going to get to. Is that propane's heavy, right? So, in 1999, my family did Pilgrim's products. You can still go on the internet and find the Angel Fire website. It's still up. Look up Pilgrim's products, and not progress, but products, and Berkeyfield water filters, and there's still one page up for that, and one page for the cylinder stoves out of Cedar City, Utah. We were selling those. Okay, so during that year, we'd gone to an expo in Derby, Kansas, or Kansas City, Kansas, one of the two. I think it was Derby, Derby, Kansas. And one of the speakers was a fire marshal. Okay, this was one of the most awesome talks I've ever heard in my life, one of the most valuable talks I've ever heard in my life. I want to talk about a couple things here. He said, I can instantly tell when we go to a fire, a house that's blown up, whether it's propane or natural gas. He said a natural gas fire just fills the whole house, and then something lights it off, and boom, the house just is in big pop, and there's pieces everywhere. It's just ceiling, everything is boom, like a big bang, you know. And so he says, well, propane is totally different. The propane sinks down to the floor, builds up, and when it's about a foot or 2 or 3 foot up, the gases, something hits it. It hits an outlet with there's electricity to warm an appliance or something, boom, it explodes. And so what happens is, here's your walls of the house. Can you see this?
Yep.
Here's the walls of the house. And he says the propane house is like gas fires, it's gone, okay? Gas explosion is gone, but propane, though, so boom, your walls are blown out about 2 or 3 feet, and your caves in, you know, the roof settles, and if there's too much stuff, it's a 2-story house, the whole thing collapses down. Now, let me tell you this. This is another story from, I don't know where it was, Jefferson City, possibly. There was one recently in Jefferson City, Missouri, but wherever this was, the explosion happened at 2 o'clock in the morning, middle of the night, dark, cold, and there were 4 or 5 people that didn't get killed. They didn't get killed, but the house blew out, so it didn't incinerate their lungs or burn them, you know, because a lot of them when propane goes, the force is so violent that it blows the walls out, and if any fires are extinguished, you know, you throw a firecracker on a fire and it would put it out. Okay, same idea. You can put out a fire with an explosion, with a sudden blast. So the thing had collapsed. The whole thing collapsed in at 6 o'clock in the morning. For 4 hours, somebody was in there, buried in the rubble, because the whole thing had collapsed, second floor. And it took them until 6 o'clock in the morning to get that last body out. Now, it wasn't a body, it was a living person that had survived for 4 hours in the cold during the night because of the propane explosion. Okay, so propane is very, 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 very dangerous. Other things, like I said, you burn up your oxygen, you don't wake up. Or you wake up where someplace you didn't figure on waking up, whether down there or up there, you know. So if it's a cold day, you might wake up in a really hot place, or if it's a cold day, you might wake up in heaven, you know. But maybe it wasn't your time. And Peter, the guy said, you're not supposed to kids are here to be here for 20 years. Your kids weren't supposed to be here for 40 years. What did you do? Well, we were some propane to heat it. Well, Jerry told you not to do that. You know, whatever. So you've been warned. Okay, you've been warned. Don't use propane for heating unless you absolutely have to. In most cases, there's no reason to do it. I don't see any. There's now electricity out there. Get electric heaters. They're safer. Use wood. Go ahead. Whatever. You got a question?
Yeah. So what's a better solution to the problem that propane creates, with how dangerous it is?
Well, one is heat with wood, heat with electricity, and heat with wood is another good one. Wood stove is great. We heated with, from the time we moved out of Colorado to Kansas, we've spent 4 years in northeastern Kansas, north of Topeka, Kansas, for 4 years, and my wife called it boot camp for Missouri, getting used to ticks, chiggers, humidity, ice storms in January and snowstorms in March. Okay, and sometimes you get an ice storm and then a snowstorm. That's one thing we're going to talk about in a little bit. But anyway, so I don't know about the wind. We'll check it. We'll see how it goes. Or we can do a voiceover afterward. Rewind. Okay.
You have an incoming call.
We've heated with wood since 1997. We moved out of Colorado, escaped Colorado, New World Order Playground Prison Camp of Colorado in 1997, and started heating with wood. Heated with a Korean War era potbelly round stove for the first year, and then that was 1990, the winter of 1997. 1998, my wife and her friend went to a homeschool conference. I don't remember the guy's name, but they talked about Y2K, and Y2K is going to be the bad thing. They come with all the jazz about, talk about newsletters and all kinds of things. Y2K, the whole world might come to an end, everything might come to a screeching halt. And I'm like, who cares? It's a big deal. And I thought, hey, if let's get people to do preparedness, I'm all in. So we jumped in. We started Pilgrim's Progress as a business. That's a long story in itself. Why I ended up doing that? Because they had 2 teepees, and I wanted a way to heat the teepees, and they didn't have. And I'd seen the perfect heating thing for outfitter. The perfect survival stove was a cylinder stove in Cedar City, Utah. Now, somebody would like to sponsor me right now, but whatever. And so, speaking of sponsors, let me get a drink of water here. Okay. I'm hoping this company, I love this company. This is one of those phenomenal things I've ever found in my life. This bottle is heavy. It's a thick glass, dark cobalt blue bottle, sapphire blue bottle. And it's from Ecuador, okay? And it comes out of a volcano. The spring, deep earth spring water from a volcano. And it goes through gold seam and silver seams. It's, you have a mine there, but they have mine, they get water from it. And can you get up closer and see that? The gold. That's the atomic designation for gold, AU, aurum. Okay, and then over here on the other side is, again, AG, silver. When you're a gray man, when you did too much color silver, they call it, it's argentia or argentum is silver. So I'm going to have a little sip here. And this is sparkling water. It's got carbonation in it or something. It's good for after a meal. It's really good. I'm basically helping them. They're just bringing it into the United States, and I've been recommending it, and trying to sell it for them. So opening the market. Yeah, I'm helping them open the market in the United States. So if you hear this video, you see that. And here's the amazing thing about it is I have ordered spring water on Amazon. I got some from New Zealand, 2 different places in New Zealand. One from Sedona, Arizona, or somewhere in Arizona, and then some from Queen Springs in Nevada, out in the desert somewhere. And it has very high silica content. It's really good water. Well, this stuff is actually a lot cheaper because this company, mind-boggling. I got the Queen water, and it cost $40 for 2 750 liter bottles, milliliter bottles, and then I also got 2 5-liter boxes, like a wine box of them, and that was $40 for that, but $20, at least $20 for shipping. I got a 5-gallon box of it, and that was like $40 for shipping. So, guess what? Heavy glass bottle, free shipping. And I ordered this like last week, and it already got here from Ecuador. I think they ship out of California. I'm not sure, but phenomenal shipping, free shipping. I mean, and it's so healing. Spring water is very, very healing. And we'll talk about water some other time, another video. We won't get off it now, okay? Water is programmable. I'll just put it that way. That's a hint, a clue. Do some research. Do your own research.
So, in terms of wood stoves, how does one use a wood stove?
Get back to the topic, Dad or Grandpa. Sorry, Jerry. Okay. How to use a wood stove? Well, there's a lot of precautions. Of course, a lot of people there, I understand, in North Carolina and Tennessee, have lived in the mountains forever, and they know how to run a wood stove. But a lot of those people, I'm sorry to say, are from a city. They lived in a city. Their house was wiped out half a city. Swananoa got hit. My daughter lives in Swananoa, and it just blew me away. That's one reason why that's so, not stressed me, but it just so shocked me to think that our family could be under 50 feet of mud right now, or bodies washed out to Tennessee or South Carolina, or the ocean. A lot of people have been. Their houses and cars just crumbled up, rolled up. If you're not aware of what's happened there, please watch videos on it. So because of my daughter being there, And while they lost their water all around the Asheville area, they all went bad. And because of that, you know, she came out here to stay with us for a while, with my wife for a while, 2 weeks or so, till the water got back on. And then they came back out again for Thanksgiving. But because of that, it was just so shocking, so mind-bogglingly horrific. And I started watching videos, and I got even more horrified and more horrified. I've watched 200 or 300 videos. I have playlists on them. I make plates of everything, you know, market stove, this and that, Dakota fire hole, you name it. I've done video playlists on it, which thanks to my daughter Anna. Oh, your mother. I just, you know, this is my grandson doing my video work.
Hello.
His mother one time taught me how to do a playlist, and I'm like, cool. She created a monster. I think over 1,000 playlists on my channel. I got a whole university of information on you name it. Just look it up, and it's probably tell you a playlist on it. I'm not even going to start on that because it'll give me too many bunny trails. No bunny trails. NBT, no bunny trails, no bunny trails. I used to speak in public, you know, he and my son would be in back, and I'd get off on a bunny trail, and his eyes would bug out, and he'd go like this, and this means a rabbit, you know. And that would just totally blow my concentration to hell and on, you know, and I was just like, I couldn't, I just about shot the rest of the talk. So anyway, good deal. Okay, so wood stoves. Okay, on the basic principle of wood stoves is you want to have good draft. We're going to talk about that because we're going to build a stove here as you're watching in this video series. I'll say video series because we're not going to get it all done today. But I know I'm not talking loud enough. I need a mic, a real mic. I have to get one with the fuzzy thing on it to keep it out of the wind. You got to have a good draft. You got to have the one thing I learned in Kansas was we're running the cylinder stove, and well, the first year it was even the worst. I had black stovepipe, standard black stovepipe from the hardware store, and it gets cold, and the pipe gets really cold, and the wind's blowing, and pretty soon you have creosote building up, and then you have you got a 5-inch pipe, and suddenly you find out so smoke is coming back into the school room, home ec school, and when I finally clean it out, you know, there's only like 3 inches of diameter pipe left in it, and it can't maintain that much draft for the fire, so the fire goes out. So I learned that I just all jury rigged, you know, redneck engineering, hillbilly stuff, but I just took a 6-inch pipe and put it on the 5-inch pipe all the way up. We're talking from the ground floor of a two-story concrete, brick, glass, stone, and tile schoolhouse that was, very high because the ceilings are tall, you know. So you're talking like 40 feet of pipe up in here. And I had to go up on the roof to secure it and everything. So I had to sheath all that in 6-inch pipe. And I did, and that prevented it clogging up. So you can't have your pipe clogging up. You have to clean it out on a regular basis. And there's devices you can get on Amazon where you can put it on a drill and it locks on so you can reverse it, go forward and backward. And you can actually follow a pipe up with all kinds of twists and turns. You know, if you're going out a window or something, you can actually follow it like a normal chimney is made for. You know, where you have the different turns. You can do that. You can clean it with that because the pipe will bend and walk its way, feed its way up there. So that's a good thing to have. Back to Derby, Kansas. Stoves. Okay. Very important here. I talked about the fire marshal. I talked about the propane blowing the bottom of the building out and the building collapsing in on it. And a lot of times it's just sitting like this. You know, the roof's still there, but it's just like, it's ready to go. So, but the other thing he told me was this. He said to put a chimney fire out. Let me see what he said, and then I'll come back to the other thing. Let's remind me to circle back to that. This is very important. I worked for a chimney company in Denver, Colorado, when your uncle was being born. And okay, so Derby, Kansas, fire marshal talk. Chimney fire. How do you put them out? There's a thing called Chimflex. It looks like a road flare, stick of dynamite, about the same size. And it's just like a road flare. You take it and you strike it you take the cap off and strike it, and it starts burning. You throw it in the stove and close the door. And the idea is it puts off gases that put out the fire. it goes up in the thing and it spits out the fire, and that'll work. But most people that have a wood stove, they don't bother to have those around, or they don't know to have them around. They get a wood stove, they put it in, and pretty soon they have a house burned down. And we've known of 2 houses that burned down, and my son has helped rebuild in my house. And let me tell you, here's one thing not to do. Okay, and this is, I saw my son do this. This is not a good idea. Okay, I'll tell you this. This is a funny one. We have the wood stove going. It's the cylinder stove. Okay, and the cylinder stove, they don't make them this way anymore. They change it, but they had 4 or 3, like 3/4 inch diameter holes in the bottom, and there's a damper. That's the door damper. So you slide it off and close it. You could open it up a little bit. And I had this thing tweaked down to where I could close it down and damp it down. And it was like first an airtight stove, make the fire last longer, make it last. I never got up to put a who's who were on the fire during the night. In fact, that stove, if we went away for a whole weekend, like 2 nights, and came back, there was still enough cold in it. I never had to start a fire again. I started a fire once in 1997, once in 1998, and that was it. 98, 99, and then we moved in the next year. But I did not have to start a fire but once a year, because I'd come back, gently open the damper, throw some paper in, some kindling, close it, and leave them leave the dampers open. And what the damper would do, that shot right at the fire. Whatever draft there was, and there was a draft, it would shoot right at the fire. Like it was a draft-driven bellows. Blow bellows. We're gonna cover that too. I got a tweak for that, a hack, invention, DIY. Anyway, so. I never have to start a second fire. But one time, Ian was just cleaned a chainsaw or something, and he had a gas in a styrofoam cup, which is not a good thing to have gas in because it'll dissolve the cup, right? So he said, "Should I?" And I said, "No." And right as I said it, he threw the cup in and slammed the door. And he's sitting there like this. He's right in front of it. I see these 7 little jets of flame go right at him. It's so funny. It's so cool. It didn't burn him, but it came close. They came about that far from his face. I just saw 7 clean jets of flame go shoot. I told you that wasn't a good idea. Gas explosive. Okay, so circle back around. I was going to pick another one. The fire marshal guy. Oh, I worked for a company in Hanley's, fireplace and chimney and fireplace, whatever, with Henley. George and Bob Henley, his son. Kid had been working for him since he was 9 years old, doing fire brick and doing tear-out work with a 3-pound hammer and chisel. And that kid was strong. Anyway, that's a bunny show. Don't get into that one. But they had a big portfolio. This kid was a professional photographer, and they had 2 big, thick, loose-leaf binders of photographs that he'd taken of work that they'd done. And one of the pictures I'll never forget, it might have been the job I was on, I'm not sure. Okay, you have a chimney, and it's built out of brick, right? You see a big brick chimney? And then inside of that is a cinder block. Okay, put the camera down there. Inside the brick is cinder block. Inside the cinder block is ceramic flue tile. They're usually like 8-inch by 8-inch square, could be round, but square or tile. It's all from ground up. It's like several $1,000s to build this thing. Okay? Well, in one job they had done, they'd had an explosion. They put too much stuff. They got too much creosote, and it exploded. And I'll never forget. It was a job that we were on, yeah, because the hole in the chimney was like 6 foot, about 5 to 6 foot diameter. I think it was 6 foot by 4 foot. A hole, no brick. Bricks. They'd cleaned up all the brick by the time we got there. They had gone through the ceramic tile, gone through cinder block, which is very heavy, very stout stuff, and all the brick, blown out a hole. And the heavy pipe, 3 triple wall pipe, $100 for like 2 feet of it. It was laying out in the yard, 30 feet away from the house. It was like the 10 foot was still connected. It was like a rocket. It just out in the yard, 30 feet away from the house. That's what happens with wood stove if you mess up. But it can happen with propane too, so be careful. Be careful with anything, anytime with fire, heating with fire, or cooking with fire, be careful. But anyway, so the stove, wood stove, that's one thing that can happen with wood fireplaces, wood heated fireplaces. There's a lot of dangers, a lot of things to be cautious about. That's probably enough, isn't it? Danger? Okay.
Yep. So we want to go into the rocket stove.
What are you supposed to say? Is there better than both of those? Yeah, there's a better alternative than both of those. Yeah. Okay. That's where we're going to go here. I'm going to get to some of the basic principles, all right? Or what are we? Okay, let me say that why was the rocket stove invented? Okay, it was an accident in some cases. If you read the book Cobb Cottage by Yanto Evans and Linda Smiley, and Michael somebody, York or somebody. But anyway, he talked about one day he and a friend had been drinking a little bit, and it was cold, and they wanted to have a fire, so they took a 55-gallon drum and they cut a hole in it, to put stovepipe in, and they cut another hole in it. And when they were done, they realized that they cut the hole in the same end of the barrel. They cut two holes. I don't know how they could have passed it. They're really drunk to do that, but they cut two holes in the same, just either end of the barrel on the same side. They meant to cut one on the other end and make a normal stove out of it. Where you put wood in here in the door and you put wood in. And so what they did was they just put stovepipe up this end and got a fire going, so it started shooting wood in the other end. And lo and behold, it was good, because anytime you increase the stack, the fire on the stack, the heat of the stack, the temperature of the stack, it's going to draft up. Heat rises, right? Everybody knows heat rises. Cold sinks, heat rises. You get to create a draft. And this touch base will circle back around this on another video, but look up top lit up draft fire, TLUD, top lit up draft fire. It's the only way to start a fire. So what they had done was they're having a top lit up. They had that stack is heating up. Show that one real quick. That stack sticking out is that's the exhaust stack, and this is your fuel stack. So we're going to do a different version of that here. So anyway, you got to have that thing heated up. And I messed with this the other night before it got really cold, and I gave it up. But I did it for about an hour, and I shot about a liter of lamp oil, and wasted that, 3/4 of it. Paper, cardboard, you name it. I got both ends to fire up, and actually one time I shot I had a can of ether sitting there. I shot the ether down in. That's not a good idea. That's quite an explosion. I didn't wake anybody up, but that was a very sharp explosion. Don't do that. So especially there's something on top of it. Anyway, so yeah, so that's what we're going to do, is talk about rocket stoves. Now, rocket stove, that was an accident of a 55-gallon drum one, but the rocket stove, the principle, was invented by a man named Larry Winiarski, as far as I know. Larry, W-I-N-I-A-R-S-K-I, Winiarski. So I may be butchering his pronunciation, but that's pretty close. And he did that because of the fact that there's other people. It's called Approvicho, an appropriate technology. All these groups people trying to figure out for years how can we keep people alive around the world that are dying every year. Well, what the problem is with cooking with wood and heating with wood on an open fire in a hut that doesn't have any draft, doesn't have any insulation, doesn't have any, and you're trying to stay warm too, so they got the door closed and the windows closed, is smoke inhalation. And every single year, 1.5 million women and children die from inhaling smoke. And we just fired a thing out here, and the smoke changed them. Hey, that's not good to breathe that stuff, most people know that. You can start coughing and hacking. You get in a grass fire, a forest fire, something, it's very dangerous to have smoke inhalation. It's bad for your lungs. It can make you age quite a bit quicker, make you pass on quite a bit quicker. So anyway, so Larry Winiarski developed this rocket stove. I have one. I don't know where it's at. It's busted up. It's not in good shape, but it's a bucket about this tall. It has a door here with a rack you can set outside of it. Just catch it real quick, maybe. My thing's down there. Rubber. Can you follow it?